Hello and welcome back to the ministry. Okay, I got a word for y'all in relation to being careful of the spirit of validation. I had a word that I was going to speak on, and I looked at it. I sat there with it for a minute, and I was trying to figure out, how do you want me to do this, Lord? And I left it alone. I rested, tried to get me some sleep, came back. And I was just listening to one of the young women I listen to who does her ministry. And when she was talking, some things popped into my head in relation to that I wanted to speak on in this word. And the fact of the matter is this. When we are children, we are raised up by our parents. The first thing that we are taught is validation. What does your parent do? I mean, darn near right out the womb. As soon as you start moving around, crawling, you start crawling. What does the parent do? Good job. You're crawling. Oh, look, you're walking. Yay. Starts clapping every time you do something good. Validation. As children, when we do something good, we feel good when we feel validated by our parents. Our parents give us a job to do and we perform it well, and our parents say good. Same thing happens if we do perform a task and we don't get validation. We feel bad, don't we? How many children chase after the parent to do something to make that parent proud that will never give them validation? That parent never gives them the validation in which they have been seeking for a timely amount of time. I remember years ago, I was watching an interview of an actress, and she was talking about something that Quincy Jones has told her. She said that he has said to her that you can't be in a state of mind that you feel that you need validation, because if you don't get it, you won't be able to operate, because in that industry it's vicious. In creative industries it's vicious, because the one thing that they don't want to give you is validation. They're never going to tell you that you're good. Sometimes what they do is they tell you that that wasn't good at all. What did you think that you were doing? We recall people like Simon Cowell and all those types of people that are known for being vicious. In the cooking industry, you got is it Dave Ramsey? That he curses out every chef. There's another guy, he used to be, I forget what his name is. I used to watch his show all the time. He used to do Dinner Impossible. And he used to fuss at the cooks. It's almost like there's a spirit of a high that they get by putting you down in these industries as creatives. And in some cases you have some of the most talented people were the ones that were put down the most growing up. Michael Jackson, his father put him down all of the time, talked about him. He was his biggest bully. But look what he did to the music industry. To this day, he is the top selling artist, highest ranking person, aside from others that try to take that position. But the fact of the matter is, you have to find who you are. And I was just saying this in a previous word, that you have to find who you are, but you cannot be seeking validation for that. Now, what I wanted to state was this. You have to be careful about seeking validation, because, for one, if you're called to any creative industry and you have any margin of success, the people around you can literally become your yes men. They will all come around you and just say, yes, this is right, this is that. And you feel like, It's the same thing the way that your parents used to do you. Oh, good job. That was great. That was amazing. And what ends up happening is you become numb to it. If you're a real person, you become numb to it, to the fact that you know that that person isn't telling you the truth. But if you pride yourself in validation, what ends up happening is you become prideful. 2, you open yourself up to 1, desperate delusions. 2, you open yourself up to being manipulated. Because if a person could walk into a room and tell you, oh my God, you are the most amazingest person. Oh my God, you are great. Oh my God. I had a minister that I followed. She was telling this story about 3 weeks ago. She was talking about how she had hired somebody to work with her as her an assistant. And she hired the person on temporarily because she wanted to do a probationary period for this particular person, and hired them on in probation. They got the position, and the person that she met on the day that she hired them, she never really met that person ever again, because that person just ended up, they felt like they got the job, that they started being lax, and then she gave them a warning, like, you're starting to lax. I need you to do this. I need you to be more attentive. I noticed that you're not dressing appropriately. You're coming in this way. You're being too casual. Maybe you need to da-da-da-da. And the person wasn't taking the advice. And what ended up happening, when she finally got fed up with the person, she ended up passing on to her people that they needed to let her go. She saw the girl the day that she had to let her go, but the fact of the matter is, your character will get you in the room. Well, I'll say, the thing that got you in the room will not keep you in the room. So what she said to try to validate and smooth and rub up against that minister got her in the door, but she didn't maintain it enough to keep her there. Having the desire for validation will make you create a persona that isn't yourself, that technically you will not be able to carry if you're the one that is doing it. And 9 times out of 10, the person will be exposed for being inauthentic, because it's not the character in which they carry, it's not who they are. A person that is authentically who they are, it's no weight in carrying that, because it's just who they are. A person is like a liar. A liar has to remember every lie they told in order to maintain the persona in which they created. Validation is the same way. If you accept validation, and you're constantly seeking validation, it takes a lot to maintain under that validation. It takes a lot for the people that gotta validate you and constantly kiss up to you to maintain that. And I'm not saying that that's what the woman was doing, that she couldn't maintain, or she was trying to kiss up to this person. Well, technically she was, but that she had to. The fact of the matter is, there's a standard of a way in which you need to be for and within certain things with people. Some people carry a standard, a high standard of value, a high standard of excellence in everything that they do, and they want the people around them to carry that same excellence. It's like you work at a professional, let's say Burberry. Burberry has, everybody comes into that shop. Every person that works there has to have black pants that are pin straightly pressed, blazer, and a black shirt. I don't know whether it's a button-up shirt or a turtleneck or whatever it is, but it has to be well acutely put together. If you have 15 employees that have seamlessly pressed their clothes, and you got that one person and all their clothes is wrinkled from top to bottom, that's the person that they're gonna be looking at like, you're trying to represent us, but you dress like that. How can you walk around trying to represent us and you're dressed like that? And don't sit up there and use the excuse, oh, well, I'm this, and this. And what does this have to do with validation? You have to operate in a spirit of excellence, but you cannot expect everyone to meet your level of expectation. There are some people that are going to be viciously angry at you for your level of excellence and are going to try to oppress and press you down. There are others that are going to kiss up to you and try to love bomb you and be narcissistic to you just because of the fact that they see your level of excellence. And what I've come to realize is that can actually, one, be a crutch to you if you're always seeking validation, because people are going to try and be a vacuum to you. They're going to try to suck all of your energy away from you because of the fact that, hey, I need to be close to that. If you aren't expecting validation, or you aren't constantly expecting somebody to not be the best or something like that. What is the word I'm looking for? Operating in pride, pretty much is what it's saying. You cannot be deceived. It's harder to be deceived because you're not trying to maintain a persona that isn't existent. I remember one time there was a point where I had gone to an event for about a few weeks back to back, and every week for 2 or 3 weeks, everything I said when I went to the podium was spot on. Everybody was cheering. When I got there that 4th time, it was like nobody said anything. Nobody cheered, nobody clapped, nobody said anything. They just looked at me like, okay. And I'm like, me seeking that validation made me feel like I was doing something right. But if I'm seeking the validation, I'm operating in pride. Now, what does that have to do with something? Some of us are in our seasons as we're waiting for relationships to come into fruition, whether it be partnerships, friendships, business associations, whatever it is that the Lord is calling you to walk into in this season. And because you are called into those types of relationships, you have to be careful about becoming prideful. And there's 2 levels of pride. There's one level of pride where it's false humility, where you are shyly, oh, you don't have to compliment me, da 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 da. Yes, it's okay to be complimented, but do not feed off of that. Do not get your energy off of that, because that's a level of pride. As well as by rejecting it. There's got to be a common balance, because if you don't, you will get caught up in a desperate delusion. And what kind of desperate delusion am I talking about? I'm talking about that desperate delusion where the story of the young man who went into the city and he was advised by the Lord, do not eat in this city. But he went to a mentor that gave him validation. Come, have dinner with me. Da, 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 da. We're in the city. Da, 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 da. Have dinner. He came, he sat, he had dinner because he trusted this person's judgment. Why? Because that person validated him. That person gave him wisdom. And sometimes these people, if the enemy knows that you feed off of validation, he will send somebody into your life that is a satanic agent that will literally validate you right into your grave. And God is the type that he will give you over to your desperate delusion and destroy you with it. Because you were not willing to understand that you were operating in a stage of pride that was destroying you. That young man ended up leaving the town way later than he was supposed to, had a run-in with somebody that he wasn't supposed to run into, and ended up getting killed on the side of the road. Why? Because he was told, don't stay, don't eat. He stayed, he ate, he was there longer than he was supposed to be, ended up running into somebody he wasn't supposed to run into, and ended up getting killed. It's another scripture I'm trying to think of. God's thoughts are not your thoughts. His ways are not your ways. But that's not the one I'm thinking of. It's the way to sing is right to a man, the end thereof is death. When you depend on validation, you will be led to death. Because you will either be led to pride, and what does pride do? Pride cometh before a fall. You do not need that. And what is it that I'm meaning for relationships? If you allow somebody to validate you in your relationship, and I'm talking about, yes, we should have partners that love on us. We should have people in our relationships that support us. But I'm talking about this person that operates in an air of godliness but no God in them, meaning they will only kiss your behind and validate you, love bomb you, give you all of these wonderful words of affirmation just because they're trying to get close enough to you to get your guard down. Solomon and Delilah, Samson and Delilah. She wanted to get his guard down. She told him everything that he wanted to hear. And he sat up there and told her, when he told her the first thing, and she turned around and used it against him to tie him up, thinking that she had gotten his level of strength. And when he saw that, he still didn't quite understand. I should probably not tell her anything else, because if I tell her, she gonna try and do it. She did it three more times. And because of that,